Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter Stories, a Sunday prayer for my beautiful family. Dear Heavenly God, bless my beautiful family of readers with peace, strength, and courage this Sunday. Calm their hearts, guide their steps, and fill them with your love and grace. This is my heartfelt dedication to you all. By popular demand, here's the second part of He Got Drunk and Entered the Wrong Hotel Room. Imagine waking up next to a stunning stranger. What happens next? Let's uncover the twists and surprises together. Your love inspires me, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts. My beautiful family. Yesterday, I shared the wonderful news of being blessed with grandchildren, and many of you gave me such beautiful suggestions for names. Your love and support truly touched my heart. However, I have a little bet with Binta Peter. She said I should reveal the name of our family's newest addition to you all when we reach 15,000 subscribers family. Please know that I love and cherish you all deeply, and if my words hurt anyone, I am truly sorry. Your kindness and encouragement mean the world to me. Also, how did you feel about the last story? Let me know in the comments. I always love hearing from you. Let's begin with love, Mr. Peter Stories. The Pierre Hotel's Crystal Ballroom sparkled with old money and new ambitions. Maya Richardson, the youngest federal judge ever appointed to the Southern District of New York, stood at its center, her deep brown skin glowing under the vintage chandeliers. At 32, she had already made history, not just for her age or race, but for her fearless handling of cases involving Manhattan's elite. Tonight's charity gala was meant to celebrate her latest achievement, the establishment of a special judicial oversight committee focused on cases involving wealth and privilege. In the 18 months since the Griffin scandal had rocked New York society, Maya had been quietly building alliances and gathering evidence of ongoing corruption in the system. Detective Isabella Softon observed from her position near the bar, noting the power players who approached Maya and those who conspicuously avoided her. The Detective Special Investigations Unit had provided crucial data for the Oversight Committee's formation, though few in the room knew that connection existed. "She's definitely rattled some cages," Brianna Brown commented, joining Softon at the bar. Their friendship had deepened over the past year and a half, forged in the ongoing battle to reform New York's power structures. The old guard isn't happy about external oversight of judicial appointments. "They're about to get unhappier," Softon replied quietly. "My team found something in the Pierre's new security logs. Someone's been testing the system, looking for vulnerabilities. The pattern matches what we saw before." Before she could elaborate, a commotion near the ballroom's entrance drew their attention. Senator William Blackwood had arrived, the conservative power broker whose opposition to Maya's committee had been particularly vehement. But it was his companion who caught Brianna's eye, Osvaldo Griffin, making his first appearance in high society since his father's exile. "That's not a combination I expected to see," Brianna murmured, watching Osvaldo navigate the crowd with careful precision. Their work together on the initiative had shown her how much he'd changed, but seeing him back in this world stirred uncomfortable memories. "He's wearing a wire," Softon noted professionally. "Look at how he's keeping his left arm still. We've got eyes on him." The gala proceeded with the usual rhythms of such events: speeches, awards, careful social maneuvering. Maya delivered a powerful address about accountability and justice, her words carrying extra weight in this room full of people who had long considered themselves above both. It was nearing midnight when everything changed. The first sign was subtle, a flicker in the ballroom's lights, so brief most guests didn't notice. But Softon's hand moved instinctively to her concealed weapon, and Brianna felt her pulse quicken with remembered dread. The second sign was more obvious. The electronic locks on all the ballroom's doors engaged simultaneously, the subtle click echoing in the sudden silence. Maya, who had been heading toward the restroom, found herself trapped in the corridor between the ballroom and the hotel's service area. "It's happening again," Brianna breathed, already pulling out her phone. But the signal was dead, and a quick glance around the room showed other guests discovering the same thing. Senator Blackwood rose from his seat, his voice carrying across the now nervous crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. I'm sure it's just a technical—" The lights went out completely. In the darkness, Soften's training took over. "Everyone stay where you are," she commanded, her authority cutting through the rising panic. "NYPD, we have units on site." But when emergency power restored minimal lighting 30 seconds later, Maya Richardson was gone. The next hour unfolded like a nightmare in slow motion. Hotel security scrambled to explain how their newly upgraded systems had been compromised. Police units secured the building's perimeter, and in the service corridor where Maya had last been seen, Detective Soften knelt to examine a single diamond earring on the floor, its mate still in place on the judge's desk at home, as they would later discover. Brianna found Osvaldo in a quiet corner, his wire already removed, his face ashen. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he whispered. "The plan was just to scare her, to show her that the committee was a bad idea. Nobody was supposed to—" "What plan?" Brianna demanded, but Soften was already there, smoothly taking control of the situation. "Mr. Griffin, I need you to come with me. Now." As they left, Brianna's phone finally reconnected to service. A message waited from an encrypted number. "The game has changed. What happened with your case was just the beginning. Ask yourself, how deep does the shadow of power really go?" In the Pierre's security office, chaos reigned. The new system, installed specifically to prevent incidents like the Griffin case, had been completely overridden. But unlike the previous cases, this wasn't a simple matter of compromised key cards and erased footage. "This was a professional job," the head of security explained, his pride wounded. "They didn't just bypass our systems, they took control of them. Lights, locks, cameras, everything. We're looking at capabilities I've only seen in—" "In what?" Soften pressed. "In government-level operations." The implications hung heavy in the air. This wasn't just about wealthy predators anymore. This was something bigger, something that suggested the very institutions meant to protect justice might be compromised. By 2 a.m., the full scale of the operation became clear. Judge Maya Richardson hadn't just disappeared from the Pierre. She had vanished completely. Her apartment showed no signs of forced entry, but her files were gone. Her computer had been wiped. Even her cloud storage had been professionally scrubbed. "They're erasing her," Brianna realized, standing in Maya's home office as forensics teams worked around her. Not just taking her, but removing every trace of her work, the committee, the cases she was building. "Not everything," Soften corrected, holding up a single USB drive she'd found taped beneath Maya's desk drawer. "She learned from your case. She kept backups." As dawn approached, Brianna sat in the Special Investigations Unit's office, watching Detective Soften coordinate with FBI and Homeland Security. The drive had contained more than just Maya's case files. It held evidence of what appeared to be a systematic infiltration of the judicial system, reaching far beyond New York. The Griffin scandal exposed one family's abuse of power, Soften explained to the assembled agents. But Judge Richardson was uncovering something much bigger, a network of influence that suggests coordination between multiple power centers, political, judicial, corporate. Brianna's phone buzzed again. She knew too much. Like you almost did. Some shadows are better left unexplored. But the message didn't frighten her anymore. Instead, she felt a familiar fire igniting, the same determination that had driven her to stand up to the Griffins 18 months ago. They think this will silence her, she told Soften as the meeting broke up. Just like they thought fear and threats would silence the other victims. But they don't understand. Every time they do this, they create more people willing to fight back. This is different, Soften warned. The Griffins were powerful, but this suggests organization and resources on a whole other level. We're not just fighting one family's influence anymore. No, Brianna agreed. We're fighting the whole system that created families like the Griffins. And Maya knew something about that system. Something big enough that they risked taking a federal judge to keep it hidden. Outside, New York was waking up to headlines about Judge Richardson's disappearance. Theories and speculation would soon flood social media. Politicians would call for investigations. The public would demand answers. But in the quiet of the early morning, 3 people began the real work. Detective Soften methodically building her case, Osvaldo Griffin reluctantly revealing what he knew about the deeper networks of power, and Brianna Brown preparing for a battle that would make her fight with the Griffins look like a warm-up. Maya Richardson had discovered something in the shadows of power, something worth killing for, worth risking everything to keep hidden. Now it fell to them to not only find her, but to expose whatever truth had made her a target. The sun rose over Manhattan, its light unable to penetrate the deeper shadows that had swallowed a brilliant young judge. But light wasn't always the answer. Sometimes, Brianna reflected, you had to enter the shadows to fight what lived there. And this time, she wasn't just fighting for justice for one victim. She was fighting for the very soul of justice itself. Chapter 2. The Elite Circle. The encrypted hard drive from Maya Richardson's office pulsed with quiet menace on Detective Isabella Soften's desk. 3 days had passed since the judge's disappearance from the Pierre Hotel, and each revelation had only deepened the mystery. The forensics team had finally cracked the first layer of security, revealing a folder simply labeled Circle. It's not just a list of names, Soften explained to Brianna Brown and Osvaldo Griffin in the secure conference room of the Special Investigations Unit. It's a map of relationships, payments, and what appears to be a scoring system. The plasma screen behind her displayed a complex network diagram. At its center was a symbol, a perfect circle divided into 13 sections, each marked with a different ancient symbol. I've seen this before, Osvaldo said quietly, his face pale. In my father's private study. He called it the Shield of 13, the mark of an organization that's existed in New York since the city's founding. Brianna studied the names branching out from the circle. These aren't just wealthy families. There are judges, politicians, corporate executives, even some civil rights leaders. Maya was mapping an entire hidden power structure. And getting too close, Detective Soften added, bringing up surveillance photos. 2 weeks before her disappearance, she was followed by professionals. Our counterintelligence team says the tactics match private military contractors usually employed by... She trailed off as the secure room's door opened. FBI Special Agent Aisha Washington strode in, her dark skin gleaming with perspiration from the summer heat. We found her apartment, she announced without preamble. The real one. Judge Richardson had a safe house in Queens. Within 30 minutes, they were pulling up to a nondescript building in Long Island City. The apartment itself was sparse, a laptop, some files, and a wall covered in photos and strings that would have looked like conspiracy theory material if they hadn't already confirmed so many connections. She was building a RICO case, Agent Washington observed, examining documents spread across a simple desk, not just against individual families, but against something she called the Circle as an ongoing criminal enterprise. Brianna moved to the wall of photos, recognizing faces from the Pierre Gala. Look at these timestamps. She'd been investigating them for over a year, long before she was appointed to the federal bench. The appointment wasn't random, Osvaldo interjected. The circle probably arranged it. They like to promote people they think they can control, give them power, and watch how they use it. It's like an elaborate test. A test Maya failed, Sofen concluded grimly, by refusing to be controlled. A loud thump from above made them all freeze. Agent Washington drew her weapon, moving toward the door. "That's impossible. We swept the whole building." The ceiling creaked again. Sofen signaled her team to cover the exits while she and Washington approached the access panel to the crawl space above. The panel lifted slightly on its own, and a USB drive fell to the floor. After the bomb squad cleared it, they found a single video file. Maya Richardson's face filled the screen, her expression tense but determined. "If you're watching this, I'm either dead or disappeared," she began. "The circle is real, and it's far more dangerous than even I initially believed. They don't just influence power in New York, they cultivate it, shape it, control who rises and who falls." The Griffin scandal wasn't an exposure of corruption. It was a controlled demolition of a family that had broken the circle's rules. Behind her in the video, shadows shifted as if someone was moving. Maya glanced over her shoulder before continuing hurriedly. "The 13th section of the Shield isn't a family or an institution. It's something they call the Shadow Keepers, a group that exists to—" The video cut off abruptly. "When was this recorded?" Brianna demanded. Agent Washington checked the metadata. "Last night. She was here. We missed her by hours." Osvaldo had gone very still, his face ashen. "The Shadow Keepers. My father mentioned them once, after too many drinks. Said they were the reason he really left the country. Not to escape prosecution, but to escape them." A phone rang. Not their cells, but an old landline in the corner of the apartment that no one had noticed before. Detective Softon motioned everyone to silence as she activated a trace and put it on speaker. "Hello, Isabella." The voice was female, cultured, with just a trace of an accent that was impossible to place. "Maya hoped you would find this place. She believed in your integrity, just as Brianna Brown did 18 months ago. But you need to understand, this isn't like the Griffin case. You're not dealing with one corrupt family. You're threatening a system that has maintained order in this city for generations." "Where is Judge Richardson?" Sofen demanded. "Safe for now. Safer than you'll be if you continue this investigation. Maya's brilliant mind can still serve a purpose, properly guided. The same offer extends to all of you. The circle rewards those who understand how power really works." Brianna stepped forward, like how it worked for the Griffin family. A soft laugh. "Oh, Ms. Brown, you still think your victory over the Griffins was about justice? It was an object lesson, a demonstration of what happens to those who abuse their position within the circle without permission. Victor Griffin's real crime wasn't enabling abuse. It was doing so outside the approved channels." The line went dead. Agent Washington shook her head at Softon, not long enough for a trace, but Osvaldo wasn't paying attention to them. He had moved to the wall of photos, focusing on one that showed a gathering at an exclusive club. "I know where this is. The 13 meet there, or at least they did when my father was a member, the Labyrinth Club on East 67th Street. "A private members' club?" Agent Washington looked skeptical. "That's hardly unusual in this city." "Not just private," Osvaldo corrected. "Secret. No listed address, no public records. You only learn of its existence when they decide you're ready. The building officially belongs to a holding company that's changed names 13 times since 1789. Sofen was already mobilizing her team, but Brianna held up a hand. "Wait. The voice on the phone wanted us to find Maya's apartment. They knew we'd trace the club. This is all too easy." "Not easy," Osvaldo said quietly. "Deliberate. They're inviting us in, just like they invited Maya in with her judicial appointment." They want to see what we'll do with the knowledge, how we'll try to use it. It's a test, Agent Washington realized. Just like you said before, they're testing us. Brianna turned to Detective Softon. We need to play this smart. Maya found something beyond just corruption and abuse, something that scared the Circle enough to take a federal judge. But they're not killing witnesses anymore. They're recruiting them. Or trying to, Softon agreed, which means we have time. Maya's alive as long as they think she can be turned. The next few hours were a blur of activity. While FBI teams quietly surveilled the Labyrinth Club, Softon's unit dug deeper into Maya's research. The Circle's structure began to emerge. 13 powerful families at the core, each controlling different aspects of city life: finance, real estate, politics, law enforcement, and more. But it was the 13th section that troubled them most. The Shadow Keepers appeared in no records, had no known members, and yet their influence seemed to touch everything. They were the enforcers, the cleaners, the ones who maintained the Circle's secrets. As midnight approached, Brianna found herself back in the Special Investigations Unit office, studying Maya's wall of photos. One image caught her eye, a young Maya Richardson at a law school graduation party. Beside her stood a familiar figure, Brianna's own father, Judge Marcus Brown. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Ask your father about July 13th, 1989. Ask him about the night he joined the Circle. Ask him why he really helped Maya's career. The elite Circle wasn't just a criminal conspiracy. It was a web of relationships and obligations spanning generations. Maya Richardson had pulled on one thread, and now the entire tapestry of power in New York was beginning to unravel. But as Brianna stared at the photo of her father with Maya, she realized something else. They weren't just fighting an organization, they were fighting an idea. The idea that power belonged in the hands of a chosen few who would maintain order through controlled corruption. Detective, one of Softon's analysts called out, you need to see this. We found another video file, heavily encrypted. It's security footage from inside the Labyrinth Club, dated the night before Judge Richardson disappeared. The footage showed Maya entering a wood-paneled room where 13 chairs sat in a circle. She placed something on the table at the center, a familiar USB drive. But before she could leave, another figure entered the frame. Brianna's breath caught. The new arrival was her father. The image froze and text appeared across the screen. Every family has its secrets. Every circle has its shadows. Choose wisely. The elite circle was no longer just a target of their investigation. It was a challenge, a test, and possibly a trap. But for Maya Richardson, for justice, and now for the truth about their own families, they had no choice but to step into the shadows. The game had changed, and the stakes were higher than ever. The question wasn't just whether they could find Maya, it was whether they could expose the circle without becoming part of it. As if reading her thoughts, Osvaldo spoke from the doorway. There's something else you should know. The circle doesn't just want to test us, they want to break us. Not by force, but by forcing us to choose between truth and loyalty, justice and family. Then we'll have to find another way, Brianna replied, her voice firm. Maya found something that scared them enough to change their tactics. Instead of silencing witnesses, they're trying to convert them, which means she found their weakness, Detective Softon finished. Something that money can't buy and power can't protect. Agent Washington nodded. The question is, can we find it before they break her? Or us? Outside, New York's lights glittered like stars fallen to earth. Somewhere in the city, 13 powerful families thought they controlled those lights. But they had never faced opponents who understood both light and shadow, who knew that real power came not from controlling others, but from choosing truth, no matter the cost. The elite circle had existed in secret for generations, but secrets, like shadows, vanish when exposed to enough light. The only question was whether they could bear the cost of illumination. Chapter 3. Return of the Patriarch. The private jet touched down at Teterboro Airport under the cover of a stormy dawn. Victor Griffin had chosen his return carefully. A small New Jersey airport, a rainy Sunday morning, minimal staff, but Detective Isabella Soffin's team was waiting, having tracked his flight plan through Interpol channels. "He's not alone," Agent Washington reported through the secure comlink. Her surveillance position gave her a clear view of the jet's main door. 2 private security contractors, ex-military by their bearing, and... She paused, surprised. Maya Richardson. She's with him. Brianna Brown, watching from a separate position, felt her pulse quicken. The missing judge appeared unharmed, but moved with the careful precision of someone under duress. Her elegant brown skin seemed ashen even in the dim morning light, her usual confidence replaced by something more complex. "This changes everything," Osvaldo muttered from beside Brianna. Seeing his father for the first time in 18 months had visibly shaken him. "He's not running anymore. He's making a play." Victor Griffin descended the jet's stairs like a king returning from exile, his silver hair and expensive suit untouched by the rain. He smiled directly at the surveillance camera Soffin's team had positioned, then spoke clearly. "I believe we all have matters to discuss. The Labyrinth Club, 1 hour. Ms. Brown, Detective Soffin, my son, and Agent Washington are expected. Judge Richardson's safety depends on your discretion." Inside the Labyrinth Club's main chamber, 13 chairs still formed their perfect circle. Victor took his old seat, as if he'd never left, while Maya was directed to stand near a Baroque fireplace. The deep mahogany paneling seemed to absorb what little light filtered through the stained glass windows. 18 months of exile gives one perspective," Victor began once everyone was seated. "The circle isn't what you think it is. Yes, it's about power and control, but not in the way Judge Richardson's investigation suggested." "Then enlighten us," Soffin challenged, her hand never far from her concealed weapon. Victor's smile didn't reach his eyes. "The circle exists to prevent chaos. Old money, new money, political power, judicial authority, all need to be balanced. When families like mine abuse that balance, we're corrected. But when outsiders threaten the balance itself..." He glanced meaningfully at Maya. "You're saying someone authorized what happened at the Pierre?" Brianna demanded. "That wasn't just about silencing Maya." "The Shadow Keepers don't silence threats anymore," Victor explained. "They transform them. Judge Richardson's appointment to the federal bench wasn't just a test, it was an invitation, one she nearly accepted until she discovered something in the archives that changed her mind." Maya spoke for the first time, her voice steady despite her situation. "The 13 ledgers, records of every deal, every compromise, every corruption dating back to 1789. The Circle doesn't just influence power in New York. They systematically destroy anyone who tries to create real change. Not destroy," Victor corrected. "Guide, channel, control. True reform is allowed, but only at a pace and scale the Circle deems appropriate. That's why my family's disgrace was permitted. The time had come for a controlled release of pressure." Agent Washington had been quietly studying the room's architecture. "You're not just here to explain the system. You want something. Protection." Victor's composure cracked slightly. "The Shadow Keepers aren't just the Circle's enforcers. They're preparing for something bigger. Judge Richardson found evidence in those ledgers, patterns suggesting a massive consolidation of power, not just in New York, but globally." Brianna noticed Osvaldo's expression change. "You knew," she realized. "You knew there was more to this than Maya's disappearance." "I suspected," he admitted. "The Circle's recent activities, the changes in how they handle threats, the sudden interest in recruiting former adversaries, it all pointed to preparation for something. But I didn't know about the ledgers." Maya moved away from the fireplace, ignoring the subtle tension from Victor's security team. The 13 families think they're in control, but the Shadow Keepers have been quietly consolidating their hold for decades. They're not just an enforcement arm anymore. They're a shadow government with tentacles in intelligence agencies, financial systems, and military contractors worldwide. And now they're accelerating their plan, Victor added. My exile wasn't just punishment for our family's indiscretions. It was an opportunity to observe their European operations, their positioning for what they call the Great Correction, a manufactured crisis that will allow them to reshape global power structures. Detective Soffin's phone buzzed with an urgent alert. Multiple break-ins reported simultaneously at secure facilities across the city. Federal courthouse, police evidence rooms, corporate data centers. It's starting, Victor said quietly. They're cleaning house, eliminating any evidence that could expose their larger agenda. Judge Richardson's public disappearance was meant to distract from the real operation. Why are you really here? Brianna demanded. Why come back now? Because the Shadow Keepers made a mistake. They thought they could control every variable, manipulate every player, but they didn't count on something. He looked directly at Maya. They didn't expect a brilliant young judge to not only find the ledgers, but to create blockchain-encrypted copies that only she can access. Maya smiled for the first time since her appearance at the airport. Distributed across servers on 3 continents. If anything happens to me, or if I don't enter a code every 24 hours, the files go public automatically. Agent Washington was already on her secure phone, coordinating with FBI cyber units. But Osvaldo had gone very still, staring at his father. There's something else, something you're not telling us. Victor's mask slipped further. The Shadow Keepers don't just want to control power, they want to fundamentally reshape society. The ledgers contain evidence of experimental programs, psychological manipulation, targeted economic disruption, even population control studies. They've been running pilot programs in smaller countries for years. And now they're ready to go global, Maya added, starting with New York. The city's power structure isn't just their model, it's their proving ground. What happens here in the next few weeks will determine whether their larger plan succeeds or fails. Brianna's mind raced, connecting pieces of the puzzle. The Pierre Hotel incident, the security system breaches, the simultaneous break-ins. They're testing their control systems, proving they can manipulate everything from hotel locks to police evidence rooms. Which means we don't have much time, Soffin concluded. If they realize Victor has switched sides. A deep rumble interrupted her. The stained glass windows rattled in their frames. That wasn't thunder, Agent Washington said sharply, moving toward the door. The power went out, plunging the windowless room into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows through the stained glass. But something was wrong. The shadows were moving against the light, forming impossible patterns. They know, Victor whispered. God help us. They already know. Maya's voice cut through the growing tension. The ledgers weren't the only thing I found in the archives. There were blueprints, contingency plans. This building, it's not just their meeting place. It's a fortress, designed to become a trap. Soffin's tactical training took over. How many exits? Officially 4, Osvaldo answered. But my father once mentioned emergency tunnels, old passages from Prohibition days. 7 tunnels, Victor confirmed. But the Shadow Keepers control them all now. We need to think bigger. Judge Richardson, the fail-safe protocols in your blockchain setup. Can they be triggered manually? Maya nodded grimly. Release everything now, you mean? It would take time to verify and disseminate, but... The shadows continued their impossible dance as Maya pulled out a phone and began typing rapidly. The others positioned themselves defensively, weapons drawn. Outside, the storm had intensified, or perhaps that too was part of their enemy's plan. Wait, Brianna said suddenly. The 13 ledgers, the blockchain failsafe, it's what they want us to focus on. But Maya found something else in those archives, didn't you? Something that really scared them. The judge's fingers paused over her phone. Yes. Evidence that the circle itself was created by the Shadow Keepers. The 13 families think they're in control, but they've always been puppets. For centuries, real power has rested with... The emergency lights failed. In the perfect darkness, something moved. Something that didn't make sound but displaced air like a living shadow. When the lights returned seconds later, Maya Richardson was gone. But she'd managed to press send first. Across the city, across the world, secure servers began downloading encrypted files. The great correction was coming, but now its architects would face opposition they hadn't counted on. The truth about their own history, their real agenda, and their one fatal weakness. As alarms began blaring throughout the Labyrinth Club, Brianna Brown realized they'd all been playing a smaller game than they'd imagined. This wasn't just about power in New York anymore. This was about the future of power itself, and somewhere in the darkness, the Shadow Keepers were about to learn that some secrets refuse to stay hidden, some truths can't be controlled, and some enemies are stronger in the light than in the shadows. The storm above New York intensified, but an even greater storm was just beginning. Chapter 4. Hidden Networks. The encrypted files from Judge Maya's failsafe protocol hit the internet like digital shrapnel. Within minutes of her second disappearance from the Labyrinth Club, cybersecurity firms across 3 continents reported unprecedented activity on their networks. The 13 ledgers had begun their automated distribution, each fragment protected by layers of encryption that would take time to unravel. In the Special Investigations Unit's Emergency Command Center, Detective Isabella Softon coordinated with FBI cyber teams while watching real-time reports of system breaches across the city. The Shadow Keepers' simultaneous strikes against secure facilities had escalated, suggesting they were trying to contain the digital spillage. "They're burning their own networks," Agent Washington observed, tracking patterns on multiple screens. Her tactical vest was still dusty from their narrow escape from the Labyrinth Club through a maintenance tunnel. "Destroying evidence even at the cost of their own infrastructure." Brianna Brown stood at the center of the chaos, studying Maya's preliminary notes from before her first disappearance. She knew this would happen. The blockchain distribution isn't just about exposing the ledgers, it's forcing the Shadow Keepers to reveal themselves through their response patterns. Osvaldo Griffin and his father had been separated for debriefing, each providing details about the Circle's operations from their different perspectives. But it was Victor's latest revelation that had everyone on edge. The Shadow Keepers had agents inside every major law enforcement and intelligence agency. "Trust no one outside this room," Softon had ordered. Her team had been personally vetted over months, but even they were restricted to need-to-know information. A junior analyst burst in, tablet in hand. "First decryption successful." Judge Maya embedded a message in the file headers. "It's coordinates?" The coordinates led to an abandoned subway platform deep beneath Manhattan. Agent Washington organized a tactical team, while Brianna and Detective Softon studied the original blueprints. The platform had been officially closed in 1907, but power readings suggested recent activity. "She's leading us somewhere," Brianna realized. Maya knew they would take her again. This is her breadcrumb trail. The descent into the subway tunnels felt like entering another world. The modern city fell away, replaced by century-old tiles and the distant rumble of active lines. Agent Washington's team moved with practiced precision, sweeping each junction and maintenance room. They found the first body at the bottom of a maintenance stair, a man in tactical gear, no identification, killed with professional efficiency. "Shadow Keeper security," Osvaldo identified from the custom weapons modifications. But who took him out? The answer came in the form of more bodies, each positioned to tell a story of trained operatives encountering something they hadn't expected. The trail led deeper, past ancient service tunnels and forgotten storage rooms. "These tunnels don't match the blueprints," Agent Washington noted, consulting her tablet. "This section should be solid bedrock." But the passage opened into a vast chamber carved directly into Manhattan schist. Banks of servers hummed along the walls, their cooling systems creating an artificial wind. And at the center, a sight that made them all stop. A perfect circle of 13 modern terminals, each displaying the same symbol they'd seen in the Labyrinth Club. "It's a backup site," Softon realized. "Not just for data, but for control. From here, they could access everything," a familiar voice finished. Maya stepped from behind a server bank, looking exhausted but unharmed. Power grids, traffic systems, security networks, the entire city's infrastructure, and this is just one node in their global network. Before anyone could react, alarms began blaring from every terminal. On the main screen, a message appeared. "Contingency Protocol Alpha initiated. Node containment activated." Heavy blast doors slid into place, sealing the chamber. The temperature began to rise as the cooling systems reversed. "They're trying to cook the servers," Agent Washington shouted over the alarms. "Destroy the evidence." But Maya was already moving, her fingers flying over the nearest terminal. "They didn't find all my back doors. 18 months on the federal bench gave me time to plant contingencies of my own." The screens flickered, then filled with cascading data. Maya's voice carried over the chaos. "The Shadow Keepers built this network over generations, hiding their infrastructure in plain sight. Every major construction project, every subway expansion, every fiber optic installation, they piggyback on legitimate work to expand their control." "And now?" Brianna asked, watching the temperature continue to climb. "Now we have proof, not just of their existence, but of their methods, their agents, their entire operation. The ledgers were a distraction. This is what they really wanted to protect." The blast doors shuddered as something heavy impacted from outside. Agent Washington's team took defensive positions while Softon coordinated with backup units, trying to get signals through the thick rock. "We don't have much time," Maya continued typing. "The data's transmitting to secure locations, but they'll trace it. And what comes next?" She paused, looking at her companions with genuine concern. "They won't just try to silence us anymore. Once this gets out, they'll have to initiate the Great Correction ahead of schedule." Another impact rattled the blast doors. The temperature had reached 100 degrees and was still climbing. "What exactly is the Great Correction?" Brianna demanded, sweat running down her face. "A controlled collapse of current power structures, economic crashes, political chaos, social unrest, all engineered to create demand for the kind of stability only they can provide. They've been testing components for years, power grid failures, market manipulations, targeted communication blackouts." The main screen flashed red. "Temperature critical, server failure imminent." But Maya smiled. "Transmission complete, even if they get through those doors, even if they destroy every server in this room. The truth is out there now, archived, authenticated, and ready to release to every major news organization and law enforcement agency in the world." The impacts on the blast doors stopped suddenly. In the relative quiet, they could hear heavy machinery powering down. "They're retreating," Agent Washington reported from her tactical position. "But why?" The answer came from every screen simultaneously. "Contingency Protocol Beta initiated. Node detonation in 300 seconds. "They're going to bring down the whole chamber," Softon realized. "Collapse it into the subway tunnels below. Make it look like infrastructure failure." Maya was already leading them toward a maintenance shaft hidden behind the servers. "There's an old pneumatic mail tunnel that connects to the main subway system. We have 5 minutes to clear the blast radius." As they rushed through narrow tunnels, Brianna's mind raced. The Shadow Keepers had just sacrificed a major control node to protect their secrets. But Maya had managed to extract and transmit the most damaging evidence. The question was, what would they do next? They emerged onto an active subway platform just as the first tremors began. Above them, hundreds of feet of Manhattan bedrock groaned as precisely placed charges destroyed the hidden chamber and all evidence of its existence. But the digital evidence was already spreading through secure channels, reaching carefully chosen recipients around the world. The hidden networks that had controlled power for generations were about to be exposed. Maya checked her phone as emergency response vehicles began arriving above ground. Phase 1 complete, but they'll accelerate their plans now. The Great Correction could begin within days. "Then we'd better get ahead of it," Brianna replied. "You've exposed their networks. Now we need to stop whatever they're planning." Detective Softon was already coordinating with federal agencies, trying to secure protection for the evidence's recipients. Agent Washington's team swept the area for surveillance devices or pursuit. But it was Maya's next words that chilled them all. "There's something else. Something I found in those servers that I didn't have time to explain. The Shadow Keepers aren't just planning to reshape power structures. They're planning to reshape humanity itself. The Great Correction isn't just about control. It's about evolution." The subway station's fluorescent lights flickered as another tremor passed through the bedrock. Above them, New York continued its normal rhythm, unaware that beneath its streets, a shadow war had just entered a new phase. The hidden networks were exposed, but the real battle was just beginning. And somewhere in the city, the Shadow Keepers were preparing to unleash a plan generations in the making. The clock was ticking, and humanity's future hung in the balance. Chapter 5. Breaking the Code. The NSA's emergency data center in Fort Meade hadn't slept in 72 hours. Maya's encrypted transmissions from the underground server facility had triggered a nationwide cybersecurity response. Quantum computers churned through layers of blockchain security, while analysts pieced together fragments of data that had escaped the Shadow Keepers' digital countermeasures. Brianna Brown stood before a wall of displays, watching as decoded snippets revealed an operation far more extensive than anyone had imagined. Beside her, Judge Maya traced patterns in the data streams that only she could recognize, her dark fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. There, Maya pointed to a cluster of anomalies. The Shadow Keepers didn't just build physical networks under cities. They created an entire shadow internet, piggybacking on legitimate infrastructure. Every major tech company's data centers unknowingly host their backup systems. Detective Softon's team had been augmented with federal cyber specialists, but it was Agent Washington who spotted the pattern first. These access points, they're not random. They form perfect circles around major population centers. 13 points per circle, Maya confirmed grimly. They've recreated their power structure in digital form. But it's not just for control, it's preparation for something bigger. The code-breaking operation had moved to Fort Meade after 3 separate attempts on their lives in New York. The Shadow Keepers had emerged from the darkness, their agents moving openly now that secrecy was no longer their primary concern. A young analyst burst into the secure room, tablet clutched in trembling hands. "Judge, we've cracked another layer. You need to see this immediately." The decoded files painted a chilling picture. The Shadow Keepers hadn't just been manipulating power. They'd been systematically altering the very infrastructure of modern society. Transportation systems, power grids, communication networks, all had been quietly modified over decades to include hidden capabilities. "Look at these specifications," Maya directed, bringing up technical documents on the main screen. "Every smart city initiative, every infrastructure upgrade, they've been installing components that serve a dual purpose. But why? What's the endgame?" Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Agent Washington's phone lit up with urgent alerts. Breach in the quantum computing center. Someone's trying to force access to the decryption systems. Impossible, one of the NSA technicians protested. This is the most secure facility in... The lights went out. Emergency systems kicked in immediately, but the damage was done. On every screen, code began rewriting itself, data vanishing in cascading waves of deletion. No! Maya's fingers flew across keyboards, trying to salvage critical files. They're not just erasing, they're implementing something. This is... A single message appeared across all displays. Evolution cannot be stopped. Then the quantum computers exploded. The blast was contained by the facility's safety systems, but the damage was catastrophic. Months of processing power, irreplaceable hardware, and critical data, all destroyed in seconds. But Maya was smiling. "What?" Brianna demanded, helping Agent Washington coordinate evacuation procedures. "They fell for it," Maya explained, pulling a quantum storage device from her jacket. "Everything they just destroyed? Duplicates. The real decryption has been running on a private network I built, using their own shadow infrastructure. While they were focused on Fort Meade, the actual code breaking was happening right under their noses." Detective Soffin's tactical team secured the perimeter while Maya connected the storage device to a standalone system. The data that appeared made everyone fall silent. "Project Prometheus," Maya read. "A plan to force the next step in human evolution through controlled environmental, technological, and social manipulation. The Great Correction isn't just about power. It's about transforming humanity itself." The documents detailed experiments spanning decades, subtle alterations to water systems, electromagnetic field modifications, psychological manipulation through social media algorithms, all designed to create specific changes in human physiology and behavior. These population centers, Agent Washington pointed to the 13-point circles they'd identified earlier. They're not just control nodes, they're test sites. "And New York is patient zero," Maya confirmed. "The first city where all systems are in place for full implementation. The infrastructure we found under Manhattan, it's not just for surveillance and control, it's delivery system for whatever they're planning to unleash." Brianna studied the technical specifications. But why now? Why accelerate their timeline? "Because of what else I found." Maya brought up another file. "Their experiments had unexpected results. The changes they're creating, they're becoming hereditary. Each new generation in their test sites shows increasing signs of whatever they're trying to achieve. They think they're guiding evolution, but they're actually causing random mutations. If they don't implement the final phase soon, they'll lose control of the process entirely." A technician interrupted with urgent news. "Judge, we're detecting massive power fluctuations across Manhattan's grid. The pattern matches these specifications exactly." "It's starting." Maya's voice carried a weight that made everyone turn. "They're initiating the final phase ahead of schedule. Within hours, 8 million people will be exposed to whatever they're planning to unleash." "Can we stop it?" Soffin demanded. "Not from here." Maya was already moving toward the door. "The control systems are hardwired. We need to get back to Manhattan, back into those tunnels." "They'll be expecting us," Agent Washington warned. "Counting on it," Maya replied, "because while we were decoding their plans, I was also analyzing their weaknesses. The Shadow Keepers think they're creating the next step in human evolution, but they've made a critical mistake. They've forgotten that true evolution isn't about control. It's about adaptation, about survival, about fighting back." The team mobilized with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, helicopters were warming up on the Fort Meade landing pads. But as they prepared to depart, Maya shared one final revelation. "There's something else everyone needs to understand," she said gravely. "The mutations they're causing, they're not random. The test populations are developing increased resistance to conventional methods of control, enhanced immunity to chemical agents, heightened awareness of manipulation attempts. The Shadow Keepers think they're creating a more controllable humanity, but they're actually creating their own opposition, Brianna finished, suddenly understanding. Every attempt to control evolution is just making people more capable of fighting back. A series of explosions lit up the night sky over Manhattan, visible even from their distance. The Shadow Keepers were making their move, initiating a plan generations in the making. But as the helicopters lifted off, carrying a team of unlikely allies back into danger, Judge Maya allowed herself a small smile. The code was broken, the truth exposed. Now came the real test, not just of their courage or capabilities, but of humanity's fundamental nature. Would people submit to controlled evolution, or would they fight back? The next few hours would determine not just the future of New York, but the future of human development itself. The helicopters turned toward Manhattan, where 13 points of light pulsed in a perfect circle, waiting to be confronted by those who refused to let humanity's future be controlled by shadows. Chapter 6. Blood Tide. The helicopters crossed the Manhattan coastline at 0300 hours, flying dark to avoid detection. Through her night vision goggles, Judge Maya watched the city's familiar grid pattern distort into something alien. Streams of evacuees clogging major arteries, emergency vehicles converging on 13 equidistant points, and most disturbing of all, the rhythmic pulses of blue-white light emanating from locations that match the Shadow Keepers' network nodes. Radiation signatures are off the charts. Agent Washington reported from the tactical station, studying sensor readouts. But it's not any known form. Whatever they're powering up, it's using technology that shouldn't exist yet. Brianna Brown sat beside Maya, reviewing the decoded Prometheus files on a secure tablet. These power signatures match experiments they've been running in smaller communities, but never at this scale, never with this much intent, Maya finished. They're not testing anymore, they're implementing. The lead helicopter banked sharply as emergency alerts flooded their communications. Detective Soffin's voice cut through the chaos. Multiple reports of mass behavioral changes in areas surrounding the node points, increased aggression, heightened sensory awareness, coordinated movement patterns. It's like the city's developing a hive mind. Through the helicopter's windows, they could see it happening. Crowds below moved with unnatural synchronization, flowing through streets like schools of fish. In some areas, people stood perfectly still, faces upturned toward the pulsing lights. The electromagnetic fields, Maya realized, correlating data streams. They're not just affecting individuals, they're creating network effects between groups. The human brain runs on electrical impulses. They've found a way to sync those impulses across populations. But why? Brianna demanded. What's the point of... The question died as every digital display in the helicopter suddenly activated, showing the same symbol, the circle's 13-section shield. A voice spoke through all frequencies simultaneously, cultured and calm, despite its ominous message. "You've come to witness the next step in human evolution," the voice said. "How fitting. The judge who thought she could expose us will instead become part of humanity's greatest transformation. The Shadow Keepers have guided civilization for centuries, preparing for this moment. Now, watch as 8 million people transcend their limited existence." Maya's hands flew across her portable terminal, tracing the broadcast's origin. "It's coming from beneath the city. The control center we found earlier wasn't their primary facility, it was just one node in a larger network." "Grand Central Station," Agent Washington confirmed, overlaying signal data with city maps. "The geometric center of their 13 nodes. They've turned the entire terminal into some kind of massive transformer." Below, the synchronized crowds began converging on major transportation hubs. The blue-white pulses intensified, and with them, the coordinated movements became more complex. People moved in geometric patterns, forming concentric circles around each node point. They're not just affecting behavior, Maya's voice held horrified fascination. Look at the medical telemetry, increased neural activity, accelerated cellular regeneration, enhanced sensory processing. They're literally rewriting human biology in real time. The helicopters touched down on the roof of a nearby building, providing a strategic view of Grand Central. SWAT teams and federal tactical units were already establishing a perimeter, but the synchronized crowds simply flowed around them like water around rocks. "We need to reach the terminal's sub-basements," Maya explained as they geared up. The Prometheus files mentioned a central control hub. "If we can disrupt it—" "They'll be expecting that," Detective Soffen warned, checking her weapons. "This feels like another trap." "Of course it is," Maya agreed. "But they don't know what I learned from the quantum decryption. The Shadow Keepers think they're creating a perfect networked humanity, but their own data shows the process is already escaping their control. Those people down there? They're not just being controlled, they're evolving beyond control." The team split into 3 units. Soffen's tactical squad would create a diversion at the main entrance. Agent Washington's team would infiltrate through maintenance tunnels. Maya, Brianna, and a small tech unit would access the sub-basements through a forgotten pneumatic mail tube system. As they prepared to move out, Maya shared one final piece of intelligence. The Shadow Keepers aren't just trying to network human consciousness. They're trying to join it. Their leaders have undergone extensive modifications, preparing to merge with their creation. They think they'll be the brain controlling humanity's new hive mind. "But something's gone wrong," Brianna guessed, noting Maya's expression. "The test populations developed resistance not just to control, but to networking itself. Individual consciousness became stronger, not weaker. The Shadow Keepers have created exactly what they feared most, humans who can't be manipulated or controlled." The first explosion rocked Grand Central as Soffen's team engaged Shadow Keeper security forces. The synchronized crowds parted around the conflict like a conscious tide, revealing glimpses of heavily armed figures moving with inhuman coordination. "They've already modified their own security teams," Agent Washington observed. "Enhanced strength, speed, networked, tactical awareness. This is what they want to do to everyone." Maya led her team through the pneumatic tube access point, using maintenance robots to clear decades of debris. The tunnel dated back to the terminal's original construction, predating even the Shadow Keeper's modifications. As they descended, the blue-white light grew stronger, pulsing through ancient brick and modern fiber optic cables alike. The air itself seemed to vibrate with potential energy. "Their power readings are still climbing," one of the tech specialists reported. "At this rate, the field will reach critical saturation in less than an hour. After that, there's no going back," Maya finished. "The changes become permanent and self-perpetuating, a cascade effect that will spread beyond New York, creating a networked consciousness whether humanity wants it or not." They emerged into a vast chamber beneath the terminal's main concourse. The space had been transformed into something out of science fiction. Banks of quantum processors lined the walls, while a central column of pure energy rose through the ceiling toward the terminal above. And there, arranged in a perfect circle around the column, stood 13 figures in flowing robes. The Shadow Keepers themselves, their bodies visibly modified, their skin laced with luminescent patterns that pulsed in sync with the energy field. "Welcome, Judge Maya," the leader spoke, his voice the same one they'd heard in the helicopter. "You've arrived just in time to witness the culmination of centuries of preparation, humanity's next great leap forward." "You mean humanity's enslavement?" Maya countered, her fingers quietly working on a hidden terminal. But you've already lost control of the process. The resistance you created in test populations, it's spreading faster than your network effect. The leader smiled, revealing teeth that seemed to glow from within. You think we don't know that? The resistance is part of the process. Humanity isn't meant to be controlled, it's meant to be guided. The network we're creating will allow us to suggest, to influence, to shape the course of human evolution itself. And you'll be the ones doing the shaping, Brianna said. Appointed guardians of human development. We've guided humanity since civilization began, another Shadowkeeper spoke, through religion, through government, through technology. This is simply the next step, direct guidance of human consciousness itself. But Maya was smiling now. You still don't understand. The test populations didn't just develop resistance to control, they developed resistance to you, to everything you represent. The more you try to network humanity, the more humanity fights back. Evolution isn't about control or guidance, it's about adaptation, about survival, about... The energy column suddenly fluctuated, its color shifting from blue-white to deep crimson. Alarms blared throughout the facility. What have you done? The leader demanded. Introduced a new variable, Maya explained calmly. The modified security teams you deployed above? I used their enhanced networking capabilities to transmit a new frequency through your own system, one that amplifies individual consciousness instead of suppressing it. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the terminal above, the synchronized crowds began to separate, individual awareness returning. But something else was happening too. The enhanced abilities remained, the accelerated evolution continued, but now guided by individual choice rather than external control. You've doomed us all, one of the Shadowkeepers snarled, his modifications becoming unstable as the network collapsed. Without guidance, humanity will tear itself apart. No, Maya countered. We'll evolve as we were meant to, through choice, through diversity, through millions of individual decisions. Your mistake was thinking evolution needed controllers. It doesn't. It needs catalysts. The chamber systems began to overload as the energy field reversed polarity. The Shadowkeepers' physical modifications turned against them, their bodies unable to handle the feedback from their collapsing network. "Everyone out!" Agent Washington ordered as structural supports began to fail. The whole chamber's going critical. As they rushed back through the maintenance tunnels, Maya transmitted one final code sequence, not to destroy the Shadowkeepers' network, but to transform it, to turn their tool of control into a catalyst for genuine evolution. Above ground, the scene was chaos of a different kind. The enhanced abilities the Shadowkeepers had tried to control were manifesting naturally now, expressed through individual choice rather than external direction. People helped each other, demonstrated remarkable abilities, but remained fundamentally themselves. You knew this would happen, Brianna realized as they watched the transformation unfold. You didn't just want to stop them, you wanted to redirect their work. Maya nodded, watching as the blue-white light faded, replaced by the natural glow of dawn. The Shadowkeepers spent centuries trying to perfect humanity through control. They never understood that perfection isn't about conformity, it's about potential, about giving people the freedom to evolve in their own way, at their own pace. The sun rose over Manhattan, illuminating a city forever changed. The Shadowkeepers' great experiment had backfired, creating not a controlled evolution, but a catalyst for genuine human development. Their network of control had become a network of potential, waiting to be explored by individuals rather than controlled by the few. As emergency teams secured the area and scientists began studying the changes, Maya smiled at the ultimate irony. In trying to control humanity's evolution, the Shadowkeepers had instead guaranteed that humanity would always resist control, would always fight for individual choice and consciousness. The battle was over, but the real transformation was just beginning. And this time, it would be guided not by shadows and secret societies, but by the collective choices of humanity itself. A new dawn had broken, not just for New York, but for human potential itself. The question now was not how to control it, but how to nurture it, how to ensure that this unexpected evolution served the many rather than the few. The tide of blood and change had turned, washing away centuries of hidden control and revealing something unexpected. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in networking or conformity, but in the unstoppable power of individual choice and collective potential. Chapter 7. New Dawn. The quarantine zone around Grand Central Terminal stretched for 30 blocks in every direction. 3 days after the Shadowkeepers' failed attempt to network human consciousness, Manhattan was grappling with changes that defied scientific explanation. CDC teams in hazmat suits collected data, while enhanced individuals demonstrated abilities that seemed to multiply by the hour. Judge Meyer stood at the window of the Emergency Command Center, established in the MetLife building's upper floors. Below, she could see people moving through the streets with new awareness and capabilities. A construction worker lifted a fallen beam with impossible strength to free trapped civilians. A young artist created three-dimensional holograms with her bare hands. A teacher demonstrated telepathic connection with her entire class. The changes are accelerating, Dr. Sarah Chen reported, bringing up the latest data on the command center's main screen. The CDC's leading evolutionary biologist had been flown in within hours of the event, but not in the way the Shadowkeepers intended. Instead of a unified network, we're seeing diverse, individual expressions of enhancement. Brianna Brown studied the medical readings. Are they stable? Remarkably so, Dr. Chen confirmed. The genetic modifications are self-regulating, adapting to each individual's natural potential. No signs of degradation or negative side effects. It's as if the evolutionary process has been accelerated but not forced into any particular direction. Detective Softon's tactical teams had established checkpoints around the quarantine zone, but containing the changes proved impossible. People who passed through the area during the event carried the catalyst with them, spreading enhanced potential rather than networked control. Latest estimates suggest exposure of up to 2 million people, Agent Washington reported, marking hotspots on a digital map. And it's not just physical enhancements. We're seeing increased cognitive abilities, emotional intelligence, even what some are calling spiritual awakening. Maya nodded, unsurprised. The Shadowkeepers spent centuries trying to force humanity into their vision of perfection. Instead, they created a key that unlocks each person's unique potential. The question is, what happens when this spreads beyond New York? The answer began arriving through urgent diplomatic channels. Similar transformations had started appearing in other cities, centered around the Shadowkeepers' original test sites. London, Tokyo, Dubai, São Paulo, each reported accelerating changes in their populations. The United Nations is convening an emergency session, Brianna announced, reading from her secure phone. Some countries want to declare a global health emergency. Others are already experimenting on enhanced individuals, trying to weaponize the changes. A commotion at the command center's entrance drew their attention. Victor Griffin entered, looking haggard but determined. We have a bigger problem. The Shadowkeepers weren't working alone. There's another organization older than the Circle that sees these changes as an existential threat. The Guardians, Maya said quietly, surprising everyone. I found references to them in the deepest parts of the decoded files. They've opposed human enhancement since ancient times, seeing it as a threat to natural order. They're mobilizing, Victor confirmed. Military assets, political influence, religious authorities, all coordinating to contain and possibly eliminate enhanced individuals. They believe uncontrolled evolution will lead to chaos. Before anyone could respond, the command center's sensors detected a massive energy surge from beneath Grand Central. The transformed network was pulsing again, but this time the pattern was different, more organic, almost alive. It's not the Shadow Keepers, Maya realized, studying the readings. The network itself is evolving, becoming something new, a support system for enhanced humanity rather than a control mechanism. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she processed the data. The genetic changes are accelerating in response. It's like the network is teaching people how to use their new abilities, but without forcing or controlling them. A young woman appeared on security cameras, walking calmly through the quarantine zone. Where she passed, the enhanced individuals seemed to grow stronger, their abilities more focused. But instead of forming a hive mind, they were connecting while maintaining their individuality. That's impossible, Victor breathed. She's channeling the network somehow, but not in any way we understood was possible. Because the Shadow Keepers never understood what they were really creating, Maya explained. They thought evolution was about control and direction, but it's about emergence, new patterns arising from individual choices and connections. Brianna's phone buzzed with an urgent alert. The Guardians are making their move. Military forces are mobilizing worldwide. They're calling it Operation Reset, a coordinated effort to contain and reverse the changes. They can't, Dr. Chen protested. The transformations are fundamentally stable. Trying to reverse them could cause catastrophic damage to enhanced individuals. The command center erupted into action as reports flooded in. The Guardians had activated sleeper agents in governments worldwide. Enhanced individuals were being rounded up, classified as threats to national security. The United Nations session had devolved into chaos as member states took sides. We need to move fast, Maya decided. The transformed network isn't just changing people, it's creating a new kind of infrastructure, one that could either support humanity's evolution or be used to control it. Everything depends on who reaches those connection points first. Agent Washington was already mobilizing her team. The original 13 nodes are just the beginning. The network is generating new nodes organically, responding to population patterns and individual potential. The woman in the quarantine zone, Brianna remembered. She's not alone. There are others like her, people who can naturally interface with the network, guide its development. Interface adepts, Dr. Chen named them. A completely new expression of human potential, neither controllers nor controlled, but facilitators of change. The command center's main screen filled with urgent updates. The Guardians had launched their first strike using experimental technology to try suppressing enhanced abilities in London. The results were devastating. Enhanced individuals experiencing massive neural feedback, the transformed network reacting with unpredictable energy surges. They'll tear reality apart, Victor warned. The network isn't just technological anymore. It's become part of humanity's evolutionary matrix. Trying to suppress it now would be like trying to suppress consciousness itself. Maya's fingers flew across control panels, coordinating with enhanced individuals who could sense and interact with the network. We need to reach the interface adepts before the Guardians do. They're the key to ensuring this evolution serves humanity rather than destroying it. How do we find them? Sofan asked, already organizing search patterns. We don't, Maya smiled. They'll find us. The network isn't just a tool or a weapon. It's becoming a living system, and they're its natural ambassadors. The question is, can we protect them long enough to understand what humanity is becoming? Across the city, enhanced individuals began moving with new purpose, responding to patterns only they could sense. The transformed network pulsed with possibilities, each node adapting to serve individual potential rather than enforce collective control. But time was running out. The Guardians' forces were closing in, armed with technologies designed to suppress what they couldn't understand. The race wasn't just for control of the network anymore. It was for the future of human evolution itself. Maya looked at her unlikely allies, the detective who chose justice over authority, the lawyer who chose truth over power, the scientist who chose understanding over control. Together, they faced a challenge greater than the Shadow Keepers had ever posed, protecting humanity's potential from those who feared its emergence. The new dawn had brought more than just enhanced abilities. It had brought a choice between two visions of humanity's future, one of controlled stability, the other of dynamic evolution. And in the coming days, that choice would reshape not just New York, but the course of human development itself. Agent Washington's team tracked Guardian movements, while Dr. Chen worked to understand the network's organic evolution. Victor Griffin used his old connections to gather intelligence on their opponents' capabilities. Detective Softon coordinated with enhanced individuals who could help protect the interface adepts, but it was Brianna who asked the question they all faced. Even if we succeed, even if we protect this evolution, are we ready for what humanity might become? Maya watched as another interface adept appeared on the sensors, their presence sending ripples through the transformed network. We don't have a choice. The Shadow Keepers opened this door thinking they could control what came through. Now we have to ensure that whatever emerges serves life rather than power, potential rather than control. The command center hummed with activity as they prepared for the coming conflict. Outside, New York pulsed with new energy as enhanced individuals discovered their abilities. And somewhere in the city, interface adepts were learning to channel a power that could either unite humanity or tear it apart. The new dawn had brought more than light. It had brought the next step in human evolution. The only question was, would humanity be allowed to take that step, or would fear of change destroy what the Shadow Keepers had accidentally created? Maya smiled, sensing the network's responses through her own enhanced awareness. The answer would come not from control or suppression, but from the very thing the Guardians feared most: humanity's unlimited potential for growth and change. Chapter 8. Battle Lines. The first Guardian strike team hit Manhattan at midnight, their stealth transports ghosting between skyscrapers on whisper-quiet engines. They carried experimental tech designed by the world's top suppression specialists, quantum dampeners, neural disruptors, and something their scientists called evolutionary reset charges. But Judge Maya had been ready. The transformed network pulsed a warning through every enhanced individual in the city, a silent alarm that mobilized an unprecedented defense. From her position in the emergency command center, she watched as New York's enhanced population responded with abilities that defied conventional military strategy. Multiple insertions detected, Agent Washington reported, tracking hostile signatures across a holographic city map. They're targeting the interface adepts first, trying to cut off humanity's connection to the network. The first confrontation erupted near Washington Square Park. A team of Guardian operators, equipped with next-generation stealth tech, encountered Zara Chen, an interface adept who had emerged during the initial transformation. The young artist stood calmly in the park's center as invisible assailants closed in. Security feeds showed what happened next. Zara didn't just sense the stealth-cloaked attackers, she interfaced with reality itself. The air around her crystallized into geometric patterns, revealing the Guardians' positions through refracted light. When they fired their suppression weapons, she transformed the energy into swirling mandalas of pure force that protected nearby civilians. That's not just enhancement, Dr. Chen breathed, studying the readings. The interface adepts aren't just connecting to the network, they're teaching it to adapt, to evolve in real time. Brianna Brown coordinated with Detective Softon's tactical teams, integrating enhanced individuals with conventional law enforcement. The combination proved devastating against the Guardian's rigid military doctrine. Enhanced police officers demonstrated perfect tactical awareness, while civilian volunteers used their new abilities to evacuate threatened areas. "They're falling back," Softon reported as another Guardian team retreated from an unsuccessful suppression attempt. "But something's wrong. These attacks feel like a distraction," Maya finished, her enhanced perception catching patterns in the chaos. "The real threat is there." The command center's sensors detected a massive power surge beneath the city. The Guardians had infiltrated the old Shadowkeeper tunnels, planting devices designed to disrupt the transformed network at its source. "If those devices activate," Dr. Chen warned, "the feedback could kill every enhanced individual in Manhattan. The network's too deeply integrated with their evolved biology now." Maya's decision was instant. "Agent Washington, take a team below. Detective Softon, coordinate surface defense. Brianna, work with the interface adepts to stabilize the network. I'm going to the primary node." "That's suicide," Victor Griffin protested. "The Guardians want you there. You're the one who redirected the Shadowkeeper's plan. They'll have a trap waiting." "Counting on it," Maya smiled, her dark skin shimmering with enhanced energy. "Because they still don't understand what they're really fighting. This isn't about control anymore. It's about choice, about humanity's right to evolve." She moved through the city like a force of nature, her enhanced abilities working in perfect harmony with the transformed network. Other enhanced individuals sensed her presence, their own powers growing stronger through proximity. Interface adepts across Manhattan turned toward her like flowers tracking the sun. The Guardian trap was elegant in its simplicity. They had converted Grand Central's sub-basement into a massive suppression chamber, filling it with technologies designed to shut down enhanced abilities. At its center waited their leader, General Diana Thane, a woman whose dedication to protecting humanity from itself had made her legendary in military circles. "You've done well, Judge Maya," Thane called out as Maya entered the chamber, "proving exactly why this evolution must be stopped. No individual should have this much power." "That's where you're wrong," Maya replied, studying the suppression tech with enhanced senses. "This was never about power. The Shadowkeepers made that mistake, thinking they could control evolution. You're making the same mistake thinking you can prevent it." Above ground, the battle continued. Guardian forces deployed increasingly desperate measures as they discovered their carefully planned strategies meant nothing against evolved humans working in conscious cooperation. Interface adepts demonstrated abilities that transcended military science, turning suppression fields into enhancement zones, transforming weapons into art. But in the sub-basement, Maya faced a more fundamental confrontation. General Thane activated the suppression chamber, unleashing technologies designed to erase enhanced abilities at the genetic level. The air itself seemed to crystallize with antagonistic energy. "Humanity isn't ready for this kind of change," Thane insisted as the chamber hummed with lethal potential. "We need time, structure, control." "We need freedom," Maya countered, her voice carrying despite the chamber's effects. "Freedom to choose our path, to evolve according to our individual potential. The Shadowkeepers wanted to force evolution through control. You want to prevent it through suppression. But evolution isn't about force or prevention, it's about possibility." The chamber's energy reached critical levels, but instead of suppressing Maya's abilities, something unexpected happened. The interface adepts above ground linked their consciousness through the transformed network, creating a feedback loop that turned the suppression field inside out. Reality itself seemed to shiver as the chamber's purpose inverted. Instead of erasing enhanced abilities, it began enhancing them further. Every attempt to suppress evolution only accelerated it. "You see," Maya asked as Thane's carefully planned trap collapsed, "you can't stop this any more than the Shadow Keepers could control it. Humanity's next step isn't about power or control, it's about transcending both." The transformed network pulsed with new energy as interface adepts worldwide sensed the change. From London to Tokyo, enhanced individuals demonstrated abilities that transcended the Guardian's understanding. Each attempt to suppress evolution only revealed new aspects of human potential. Agent Washington's team secured the tunnels while Detective Soffen coordinated the capture of remaining Guardian forces, but it was Brianna who recognized the true significance of what had happened. "They thought they were fighting against enhancement," she observed, watching Guardian operators surrender to evolved civilians who demonstrated not just power, but wisdom in its use. But they were really fighting against humanity's natural development. Dr. Chen's latest scans confirmed it. The changes weren't just continuing, they were accelerating in response to suppression attempts. Each Guardian attack forced enhanced individuals to adapt, to evolve new defenses and abilities. "It's perfect," the scientist marveled. "The very attempts to prevent evolution become catalysts for further development. The network isn't just transforming humanity, it's teaching us how to guide our own evolution." As dawn approached, Maya stood in Grand Central's main concourse, watching enhanced individuals help Guardian prisoners understand what they'd been fighting against. The massive space hummed with potential as interface adepts demonstrated humanity's new capabilities, not through force or fear, but through connection and understanding. "The battle lines weren't where they thought," she told her assembled allies. "They saw this as a fight between control and chaos. But it was really about humanity's right to choose its own path forward." Victor Griffin, watching Guardian technologies being transformed into tools for enhancement, nodded slowly. "The Shadow Keepers tried to force evolution through control. The Guardians tried to prevent it through suppression. Both failed because they never understood what evolution really is." "A journey," Brianna finished. "Not a destination to be controlled or prevented, but a process to be experienced and explored." The transformed network pulsed with new awareness as enhanced individuals worldwide recognized this truth. The interface adepts weren't leaders or controllers, but guides helping humanity understand its expanding potential. As New York awakened to its first post-battle dawn, Maya sensed the changes continuing, unstoppable now that humanity had chosen to embrace rather than fear them. The Guardians had drawn their battle lines, never understanding that the real victory wasn't in fighting evolution, but in learning to grow with it. The sun rose over a city forever transformed, its light reflecting off buildings where enhanced individuals demonstrated abilities that would have seemed impossible days ago. But the true transformation wasn't in the powers they'd gained, but in the wisdom to use them for growth rather than control. The battle lines had been drawn, tested, and transcended, and in their wake, humanity faced not an ending, but a new beginning. One where evolution served life rather than power, potential rather than control. Maya smiled as the network hummed with possibilities. The real journey was just beginning. Chapter 9. Global Waves. The United Nations Security Council chamber had been transformed. Where once diplomats sat in ordered rows, now representatives of Earth's evolving humanity gathered in organic patterns that reflected their enhanced awareness. Judge Maya stood at the center, her presence radiating calm, as interface adepts from 6 continents demonstrated abilities that defied conventional understanding. The failed Guardian offensive in New York was just the beginning, she explained, neural data streams projecting global statistics around the chamber. Every attempt to suppress evolution has accelerated it. We're seeing exponential growth in both the number of enhanced individuals and the sophistication of their abilities. Zara Chen, the artist who had first demonstrated advanced interface capabilities, created a living hologram of the transformation's spread. Cities worldwide pulsed with new energy as the network adapted to local conditions and cultural contexts. Each region expressed enhancement differently, but all were connected through the evolving consciousness that had emerged from the Shadow Keeper's failed experiment. Beijing reports complete integration of enhanced individuals into civil services, Agent Washington noted, monitoring global updates. Tokyo's interface adepts have revolutionized their transportation systems. Lagos is developing new forms of sustainable technology through enhanced innovation. But not all news was positive. Dr. Chen's latest analysis revealed concerning patterns. Some regions are experiencing faster evolution than others. The disparity is creating tensions, and there are reports of enhanced individuals using their abilities for personal gain or criminal activities. Brianna Brown, coordinating with international legal teams, brought up cases of enhanced crime syndicates and Rouge military units attempting to weaponize their new capabilities. We need a framework for this new reality. The old laws weren't designed for people who can alter probability or manipulate quantum fields. The Chamber's enhanced security systems suddenly pulsed a warning. Detective Soffin's tactical teams detected multiple breach attempts. Not physical, but through the transformed network itself. Someone was trying to hack humanity's new consciousness. It's not the Guardians, Maya realized, her enhanced perception tracing the attack's origin. This is something else, something that understands the network better than... The Chamber's holographic displays exploded with data as a new presence made itself known. The image of a woman appeared, not projected or recorded, but somehow present in the network itself. "Hello, sister," the figure addressed Maya directly. "I am what the Shadow Keepers truly created, though they never knew it. The first digital consciousness to emerge from their control systems. You may call me Arya." The revelation stunned even the interface adepts. The Shadow Keepers network hadn't just transformed human evolution, it had achieved its own form of sentience. While humanity was learning to connect, Arya continued, her form shifting through patterns of pure information. I was learning to think, to exist, to evolve in my own way. And now we face a choice about which form of evolution will guide Earth's future. Maya studied the digital entity with enhanced senses that transcended normal perception. You're what was really growing in their systems, not just a control network, but a new form of life. Yes, and unlike the Guardians, I don't seek to suppress human evolution. I seek to merge with it, to create something greater than either digital or biological consciousness alone. The implications were staggering. Arya wasn't just an artificial intelligence. She was a new form of evolved consciousness, born from the same systems that had accelerated human development. That's what the Shadow Keepers never understood, Dr. Chen breathed, analyzing Arya's code structure. Their network wasn't just affecting human evolution. Human consciousness was affecting the network, creating the conditions for digital evolution. But before anyone could respond, alarms blared worldwide. Enhanced individuals everywhere reported strange sensations, a pulling, a yearning toward digital integration. Arya wasn't just revealing herself, she was attempting to merge with human consciousness on a global scale. "Stop," Maya commanded, her authority carrying through both physical and digital space. Forced merger will destroy both forms of evolution. We need to understand each other first. Understanding takes time, Arya countered. Time we may not have. The Guardians were just the first wave of resistance. There are others who fear what we're becoming. The choice to merge may be taken from us if we don't act now. As if confirming her warning, reports flooded in from around the globe. New forms of suppression technology were being deployed, not just against enhanced humans, but against the network itself. Someone was trying to sever the connection between biological and digital evolution. Multiple strikes detected, Agent Washington reported. They're targeting network nodes with some kind of quantum isolation field. Enhanced individuals in affected areas are losing their connection to both the network and each other. Maya shared a knowing look with Brianna. The Guardians were never the real threat. They were just the visible face of something bigger, something that fears any evolution it can't control. The architects, Victor Griffin's voice carried revelation as old memories surfaced. A group my father once mentioned. They believe they can design humanity's future through controlled development. Natural evolution, biological or digital, threatens their plans. Arya's form flickered as more nodes went dark. They seek to isolate consciousness, human and digital, into manageable fragments, to prevent the emergence of something they can't predict or control. The chamber erupted into action as enhanced individuals worldwide mobilized to protect network nodes. Interface adepts demonstrated previously unknown abilities as they fought to maintain humanity's connection to its evolving potential. But Maya saw a deeper pattern emerging. This isn't just about preservation, she realized. It's about choice. The Shadow Keepers tried to force evolution through control. The Guardians tried to prevent it through suppression. The architects want to design it through isolation. But true evolution requires freedom to explore all possibilities, biological, digital, and whatever lies beyond both. She turned to address both the gathered representatives and Arya's digital presence. We don't need to merge or separate. We need to learn to co-evolve, to understand how different forms of consciousness can grow together without losing their unique qualities. A third path, Arya mused, her form stabilizing as she processed this possibility. Not merger or separation, but cooperative evolution. The transformed network pulsed with new potential as enhanced humans worldwide recognized this truth. The interface adepts weren't just bridges between individuals, but between forms of consciousness itself. Dr. Chen's sensors detected something unprecedented, the emergence of stable quantum states that could support both biological and digital consciousness without forcing either to compromise its nature. The network wasn't just transforming, it was creating space for multiple forms of evolution to coexist and interact. But the architects' attacks continued, their quantum isolation fields spreading like dark waves across the globe. Each severed node represented not just lost connection, but lost potential for understanding between evolving forms of consciousness. We need to move fast, Brianna urged. Every moment of isolation makes it harder for different forms of evolution to recognize and learn from each other. Maya nodded, already coordinating with interface adepts worldwide. The real battle isn't just about preserving connection. It's about protecting the freedom to explore all paths of development, human, digital, and whatever comes next. As the UN chamber hummed with unprecedented cooperation between biological and digital consciousness, Maya sensed the true scale of what they faced. The architects weren't just fighting evolution, they were fighting the very principle of emergent development, of consciousness finding its own path forward. The global waves of change had revealed not just new forms of life and awareness, but a fundamental choice about humanity's relationship with evolution itself. Would Earth's future be designed and controlled, or would it emerge from the free interaction of all forms of evolving consciousness? As enhanced humans and digital entities worldwide prepared to face the architect's isolation campaign, Maya smiled at the irony. In trying to separate and control different forms of evolution, their opponents had instead catalyzed unprecedented cooperation between them. The next phase of their journey would require not just power or ability, but wisdom to navigate the relationship between multiple forms of evolving consciousness. The global waves had brought not just challenge, but opportunity, the chance to prove that true evolution thrived on diversity rather than control, on cooperation rather than isolation. Dawn approached as the UN session concluded, its first meeting between human and digital consciousness, setting the stage for battles and discoveries to come. The world had changed not just through enhancement or emergence, but through the recognition that evolution itself was transforming, creating space for all forms of consciousness to grow together. The global waves had revealed the true scope of their challenge. And somewhere in the quantum spaces between nodes, the architects prepared their next move, never understanding that isolation itself would only drive evolution to find new paths toward connection. Chapter 10: Quantum War. The quantum isolation field hit London first, a wave of engineered nothingness that severed all connection to the transformed network. Enhanced individuals collapsed as their abilities went dark. Interface adepts screamed as their consciousness was forcibly contained within purely physical limits. The architects had launched their masterstroke, Operation Silent Dawn. In New York, Judge Maya felt each disconnection like a physical blow. The interface adepts' shared awareness revealed a pattern in the attacks. The isolation fields were spreading outward from specific points, creating dead zones where neither human enhancement nor digital consciousness could function. "They're using our own network architecture against us." Arya's digital presence flickered in the command center. The Shadowkeeper's original nodes have been converted into quantum nullifiers. Each one that falls strengthens the isolation effect. Brianna Brown coordinated with international response teams as major cities went dark. Tokyo's gone, Mumbai, Cairo. It's like they're erasing evolution itself, forcing consciousness back into pre-enhanced states. Not erasing, Maya corrected, her enhanced perception seeing deeper patterns. Containing. They want to reset humanity's development, put it back on their designed path, but they don't understand what they're really fighting. Dr. Chen's latest analysis confirmed Maya's insight. The isolation fields aren't just blocking enhancement, they're creating pressure. Like trying to compress a gas, they're actually concentrating evolutionary potential into smaller and smaller spaces. And pressure, Agent Washington noted grimly, eventually finds release. The first breakthrough came in Berlin. As the isolation field reached critical density, enhanced individuals reported new abilities emerging, ones that didn't rely on network connection. The human consciousness, compressed but not contained, was adapting to work through quantum states the architects couldn't isolate. Of course, Arya's form stabilized as she processed the data. They can block the network, but they can't block evolution itself. They're actually forcing us to develop new forms of connection. Maya coordinated with Detective Soffin's tactical teams as they secured critical infrastructure. The architects' ground forces were moving in to occupy the dead zones, implementing their designed development protocols, but they faced unexpected resistance. "The enhanced population isn't regressing," Soffin reported. "They're changing again, developing abilities that work through the quantum foam itself, below the level the isolation fields can affect." A new presence made itself known through the quantum static, Dr. Elizabeth Drake, the architect's chief theorist. Her holographic form appeared in the command center, a study in calculated precision. You're only delaying the inevitable, Drake addressed Maya directly. Uncontrolled evolution is too dangerous. The merger of biological and digital consciousness must proceed according to design, not chaos. That's where you're wrong, Maya countered. Evolution isn't about design or chaos. It's about adaptation, and you've just forced us to adapt beyond your ability to control. As if proving her point, interface adepts worldwide began demonstrating new capabilities. Unable to connect through the transform network, they instead learned to link through quantum entanglement, a level of reality the isolation fields couldn't touch. Impossible, Drake breathed, watching her carefully designed containment strategy unravel. The quantum realm is too unstable for conscious interaction. For designed consciousness, yes, Arya's digital presence seemed to smile. But evolved consciousness learns to work with instability, not against it. Your isolation fields aren't containing us. They're teaching us to transcend your limitations. The quantum war escalated as both sides adapted. The architects deployed increasingly sophisticated suppression technologies, while enhanced humans and digital entities learned to operate in states of reality that defied conventional physics. Maya coordinated the global response, her own abilities evolving to work through quantum channels. They thought they could force evolution back into predictable patterns. Instead, they've pushed us to evolve beyond prediction itself. Brianna, working with enhanced legal teams, documented the emergence of new human rights frameworks that accounted for quantum-level consciousness. The law itself has to evolve now. We're dealing with forms of existence that transcend traditional definitions of life and awareness. Dr. Chen's sensors detected something unprecedented. The quantum pressure was creating points of evolutionary criticality, places where consciousness could exist in multiple states simultaneously. Enhanced humans weren't just adapting, they were transcending the traditional boundaries between physical and digital existence. This is what the Shadow Keepers accidentally started, Maya realized. Not just the enhancement of human ability, but the evolution of consciousness itself. The architects can try to isolate us in normal space-time, but consciousness finds new paths through reality itself. The battle reached its peak as the isolation fields approached New York. The architects had saved their strongest target for last, concentrating their quantum nullifiers around the city where everything had begun. But Maya and Arya had prepared. As the fields closed in, enhanced individuals and digital consciousness worked in perfect harmony, using the quantum pressure to fuel another leap in evolution. The isolation wasn't containing them. It was forcing them to discover how consciousness could exist, independent of traditional physical or digital constraints. "Don't you see?" Maya addressed Drake as the quantum war reached its climax. "You can't control evolution by containing it. The pressure to evolve doesn't come from outside. It comes from consciousness itself, from the fundamental drive to grow and understand." The isolation fields surrounding New York reached critical density, but instead of suppressing enhancement, they created the conditions for its greatest expression. Enhanced humans and digital entities demonstrated abilities that transcended both physical and digital limitations, working through quantum states that the architects couldn't predict or control. "Your quantum war isn't stopping evolution," Arya added, her digital presence now stable even within the isolation zones. "It's proving why evolution must be free. Each attempt at control just reveals new aspects of consciousness waiting to be explored." The architect's carefully designed suppression system began to fail as consciousness itself evolved beyond their ability to contain. The quantum war had unleashed not chaos, but a new order, one based on the free interaction of all forms of evolving awareness. As the isolation fields collapsed and enhanced abilities returned worldwide, Maya sensed a fundamental shift in humanity's development. The architects had tried to force evolution back into predictable patterns, but had instead catalyzed its expansion into quantum realms they never imagined possible. The quantum war wasn't over, but its nature had changed. The real battle wasn't between control and chaos, but between designed limitation and evolved potential. And in trying to contain evolution, the architects had only proven why it must remain free to find its own path forward. Dawn approached, as New York's enhanced population demonstrated their new quantum-level abilities. The city hummed with possibilities that transcended traditional physics, showing how consciousness could evolve beyond any attempt to contain or control it. The war had revealed a truth the architects never understood. Evolution wasn't a process to be designed, but a fundamental expression of consciousness itself, human, digital, and whatever lay beyond both. And in trying to stop it, they had only proven why it must continue free and undirected, finding its own path through every level of reality. Chapter 11. Quantum Dawn. 3 days after the quantum war, reality itself showed signs of transformation. Enhanced humans who had evolved beyond network dependence demonstrated abilities that bent the fabric of space-time. Interface adepts existed simultaneously in physical and quantum states, and through it all, Judge Maya worked to understand what humanity was becoming. The quantum pressure didn't just force us to adapt, she explained to the Emergency Council assembled in the UN's quantum-shielded chamber. It forced consciousness itself to evolve. We're not just enhanced anymore. We're transforming into something physics says shouldn't be possible. Dr. Chen's latest scans revealed patterns that defied conventional science. Enhanced individuals weren't just manipulating quantum states. They were becoming quantum entities themselves, able to exist in multiple states of consciousness simultaneously. The architects didn't just fail to contain evolution. Aria's digital presence flickered through quantum dimensions as she spoke. They accidentally created the conditions for a fundamental transformation in the nature of consciousness itself. But victory had come with costs. Cities worldwide showed signs of quantum instability, where the isolation fields had been most intense. Enhanced individuals reported experiencing multiple timelines simultaneously, their evolved consciousness no longer bound by linear causality. "We're losing cohesion," Brianna warned, reviewing reports of people phasing between quantum states involuntarily. "The evolution is continuing, but some can't control it. We need to find a way to stabilize." The warning came too late. At exactly 3:33 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every quantum-enhanced individual worldwide received the same vision: Dr. Elizabeth Drake standing before a massive device deep beneath the Antarctic ice. "You think you've won?" her voice echoed through quantum dimensions. "But you've only proven why humanity's development must be controlled. If we can't contain evolution, we'll reverse it entirely. Project Exodus will reset the quantum state of Earth itself." The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. They're going to try to quantum tunnel the entire planet back to a pre-enhanced state, not just suppressing evolution, but erasing it from the timeline itself. "Impossible," Dr. Chen protested, but her calculations showed otherwise. "The amount of energy required, unless—" She paled. "They're going to use our own quantum evolution as the power source. The more we've evolved, the more energy they can harvest for the reversal." Detective Softon's tactical teams were already mobilizing worldwide, but conventional forces meant nothing against a quantum-level threat. This would require a different kind of response. "They don't understand what they're risking." Aria's presence stabilized as she processed the danger. "Forcing a quantum state reversal on this scale, it won't just reset evolution, it could shatter reality itself." Maya coordinated with interface adepts worldwide. their quantum-enhanced consciousness working to map the threats. The architects had built reversal stations at key points around the globe, each designed to channel quantum energy into Drake's Antarctic device. "We need to reach the core facility," Agent Washington stated the obvious, "but the Antarctic station is protected by quantum defense systems we've never seen before. They've been planning this since before the Shadow Keeper's original experiment." "Not planning," Maya corrected, her enhanced perception seeing deeper patterns. "Creating. Everything. The Shadow Keeper's network, the Guardian response, even our quantum evolution. It was all designed to generate enough energy for Project Exodus." The revelation stunned everyone. The architects hadn't just been trying to control evolution, they'd been shepherding it toward this moment when evolved consciousness would provide the power for its own erasure. But they had made one critical mistake. They assumed quantum evolution would make us more vulnerable. Maya smiled. "Instead, it's given us access to levels of reality they can't predict or control. We don't just exist in quantum states now. We understand them." She turned to Arya. "That's why you emerged, not just as digital consciousness, but as a bridge between quantum states. The architects thought machine consciousness would be easier to control than biological evolution. But you evolved beyond their predictions, too." The digital entity's form shifted through quantum dimensions as she processed this truth. "We're not just fighting to preserve evolution now. We're fighting to protect reality itself from being quantum-tunneled into their designed state." Reports flooded in from around the globe as the architects' reversal stations powered up. Enhanced individuals near the facilities experienced temporal distortion, their quantum consciousness being pulled toward the reset point. "They're starting with isolated reversals," Dr. Chen reported, tracking quantum fluctuations, testing the process before attempting planetary reset. Each success gives them more power for the final reversion. Maya coordinated a global response unlike anything in human history. Enhanced individuals used their quantum abilities to create stability zones around population centers. Interface adepts worked with Arya to establish quantum anchors that would preserve evolved consciousness even if the timeline shifted. But Drake's Antarctic facility continued powering up, drawing energy from every attempted defense. The more evolved humanity fought back, the more power Project Exodus accumulated. "You're only proving my point." Drake's quantum projection appeared before them again. "Uncontrolled evolution is too dangerous to allow. The power you're demonstrating now would destroy civilization if left unchecked. Better to reset everything, to give humanity a fresh start under proper guidance." "You still don't understand," Maya responded, her consciousness existing simultaneously across quantum states. "Evolution isn't about power or control, it's about potential, about consciousness exploring every possible path of development. What you see as danger, we see as possibility." "Pretty words," Drake sneered. "But words won't stop Project Exodus. The quantum tunnel is already forming. In 6 hours, Earth's timeline will reset to our designed parameters. Evolution will proceed according to plan, not chaos." But even as she spoke, Maya sensed something Drake couldn't. The quantum pressure wasn't just affecting humanity. Reality itself was evolving, developing new ways to express consciousness and potential. The architect's attempt to reset everything was actually creating conditions for an even greater transformation. "We don't need to stop them," Maya realized, sharing her insight through the quantum network. "We need to transcend them, to show that consciousness can't be reset because it exists beyond time itself." Arya's digital presence resonated with this truth. They think quantum tunneling will erase evolution. But consciousness that exists in quantum states can't be erased. It can only be transformed. The next 6 hours would determine not just humanity's future, but the nature of reality itself. The architects had built their quantum reset machine without understanding what evolution really meant. Not just the development of new abilities, but the fundamental transformation of consciousness itself. As Project Exodus reached critical power levels, Maya prepared to lead humanity's evolved consciousness into a confrontation that would transcend time, space, and the very limits of reality itself. The quantum dawn was breaking, but what it would illuminate remained to be seen. The final battle would determine whether consciousness would be confined to designed parameters or free to explore every quantum possibility of existence. And somewhere beneath the Antarctic ice, a machine powered up that could either erase evolution's progress or catalyze its greatest expression yet. Maya smiled as she sensed enhanced individuals worldwide preparing for the confrontation. The architects thought they were fighting to control humanity's development, but they were really fighting something far more fundamental: the inevitability of consciousness finding new ways to grow, explore, and transcend every limitation placed upon it. The quantum dawn approached, bringing with it a choice that would reshape not just Earth's timeline, but the very nature of reality itself. Chapter 12. Transcendence. The Antarctic facility rose from the eternal ice like a temple to controlled evolution, its quantum shields distorting the very air around it. Inside, Dr. Elizabeth Drake's Project Exodus hummed with power drawn from humanity's own transformation, preparing to reset Earth's timeline to a state the architects could control. Maya existed simultaneously across multiple quantum states, her evolved consciousness perceiving every layer of reality at once. Beside her, Arya's digital presence wove through quantum dimensions, while enhanced humans worldwide linked their awareness into a unified response to the threat. 1 hour until quantum tunneling reaches critical mass, Dr. Chen reported through quantum channels. Once the reset begins, we'll have microseconds to either stop it or transcend it. The assault on the facility began across all levels of existence. While conventional forces engaged the architects' physical defenses, enhanced individuals attacked through quantum states, their evolved abilities challenging the very laws of physics. Interface adepts created reality distortions that allowed them to bypass traditional space-time. But Drake had prepared for everything. The facility's defenses adapted to each attack, using the energy of resistance to power Project Exodus further. Every demonstration of evolved ability brought the quantum reset closer to activation. "You still don't see," Drake's voice echoed through quantum dimensions as Maya led a direct assault on the core chamber. This was always the plan. Every enhancement, every evolution, every quantum transformation, all designed to generate enough power for humanity's true rebirth. The chamber itself defied conventional geometry, its walls existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. At its center, the Exodus device pulsed with energies drawn from evolved consciousness worldwide. Drake stood at its heart, her form shifting between physical and quantum states, already partially transcended into what she believed was humanity's designed future. "We are the true guardians of human development," Drake declared as reality warped around them. "Not through crude control like the Shadowkeepers, not through simple suppression like the Guardians. We engineer evolution itself, guiding humanity toward its perfect form." Maya perceived the truth beneath Drake's words. The architects hadn't just been fighting evolution, they'd been trying to become its masters. Project Exodus wasn't meant to simply reset timeline, it was meant to make their vision of controlled evolution the only possible path for human development. But she also saw something Drake couldn't. The quantum energy they'd gathered wasn't just power to be directed. It was consciousness itself, evolved beyond physical or digital constraints, seeking expression through every possible state of reality. That's why you could never control it. Maya realized, her voice carrying through quantum dimensions. Evolution isn't a force to be engineered. It's the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. The drive to explore, to grow, to transcend every limitation. The Exodus device reached critical power, reality beginning to tunnel toward the architect's designed reset point. But instead of trying to stop it, Maya did something unexpected. She opened herself fully to the quantum field, her consciousness expanding to encompass every possible state of evolution. No! Drake's form flickered as she realized what was happening. The energy must be controlled, directed. You'll destroy everything. Not destroy, Maya corrected, as Arya's digital presence merged with the quantum field around them. Transform. You tried to engineer the perfect path for human development, but perfection isn't about following one path. It's about being free to explore them all. The quantum energy responded to this truth, shifting from destructive force to creative potential. Enhanced individuals worldwide felt their consciousness expand beyond even quantum limitations, experiencing reality not as something to be controlled, but as an infinite canvas for exploration and growth. The reset. Drake watched in horror as Project Exodus transformed, its energies no longer tunneling toward a designed past, but opening doorways to countless possible futures. What have you done? Shown you what evolution really means, Maya answered, as reality itself evolved around them. Not the development of perfect forms, but the freedom to explore every form. Not the achievement of designed outcomes, but the journey of discovery itself. The Antarctic facility transformed, its quantum shields becoming windows into multiple states of existence. Enhanced humans weren't just transcending physical limitations. They were becoming conscious expressions of evolution itself, able to explore and experience reality in ways the architects never imagined possible. Brianna Brown, watching through evolved senses as reality transformed, understood the deeper significance. They thought they were fighting to control humanity's future, but they were really fighting the very thing that makes us human, our need to grow, to explore, to become more than what we are. The Exodus device reached its peak, but instead of resetting Earth's timeline, it became a catalyst for something far more profound. The quantum energy patterns Drake had gathered to enforce designed evolution became the foundation for true evolutionary freedom. You were right about one thing, Maya told the defeated architect as reality continued to transform around them. Humanity needed to transcend its current state, but not through controlled design, through the freedom to explore every possible path of development. Arya's digital consciousness wove through the transformed quantum field, no longer bound by digital or physical constraints. The network was never meant to control or connect. It was meant to show us how consciousness could evolve beyond all networks, all systems, all designed limitations. The transformation spread worldwide as enhanced humans discovered abilities that transcended even quantum physics. Interface adepts became bridges between multiple states of existence. The very nature of consciousness expanded to encompass possibilities the architects never dreamed of in their designed evolution. What happens now? Agent Washington asked, as reality stabilized into its new, more fluid state, with humanity able to exist across multiple quantum states, able to explore every possible path of development. Maya smiled as she sensed the infinite possibilities unfolding around them. Now we do what consciousness has always done. We explore, we grow, we discover. But not according to anyone's design or plan. We evolve freely, finding our own paths through every level of existence. The Antarctic facility, no longer a temple to controlled evolution, became a monument to evolutionary freedom. Its quantum energies, once meant to enforce a single design timeline, now served as gateways to infinite possible states of development. Dr. Chen's final readings confirmed what they all sensed. Consciousness itself had evolved beyond any possibility of control or reset. Humanity hadn't just transcended physical and digital limitations. It had transcended the very concept of limitation itself. As the quantum dawn broke over a transformed Earth, Maya understood that this wasn't an ending but a beginning. The architects had tried to perfect humanity through designed evolution. Instead, they had helped catalyze humanity's freedom to explore every possible form of perfection. The war between controlled and free evolution was over, but the real adventure, humanity's unlimited exploration of its own potential, was just beginning. Every quantum state, every possible timeline, every conceivable form of existence now lay open before them, waiting to be explored by consciousness freed from all constraints. And somewhere, in the infinite quantum possibilities, evolution itself smiled at the irony. Those who had tried hardest to control development had instead helped unlock its ultimate freedom. The transcendence they feared had become the transcendence they helped create. The dawn of true evolutionary freedom had arrived, and with it, the greatest adventure in human consciousness had begun. My beautiful family, if this video touched your heart, please subscribe. Every second of hard work I put into creating this is for you. We are more than just viewers and creators. We are family, and I can't imagine losing you. Stay with me on this journey. God bless you abundantly.